Hi there, Jay Arnott here, and welcome once again to this NLP micro video series. And in this session, I'm going to be coaching you on how to supercharge your sensory systems in order to enhance your performance in any context. Now, when we're looking at sensory systems in NLP, generally speaking, these are called representational systems. And you need a good understanding of what those are first before you go forward and implement some of the key NLP patterns. So let's just look at representational systems in NLP. So ultimately, we've got 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. So visual is obviously what you see, maybe what you see in your mind's eye and what you see on the outside world. Auditory is what you hear. Kinesthetic is what you feel. So feeling with your hands, maybe feeling with your senses in a strange way. Internal feelings, things like that. Olfactory is, a little bit of smell, which can be very, very powerful in terms of NLP anchoring, which we're going to be using later on. And olfactory, smell, and gustatory is the last one. And have a guess what gusto is. Which country in the world exudes a lot of gusto? And what do they love? They love food. So it's Italians, Italy. They use a lot of gusto in their language and doing this coming from the stomach. So just remember it like that. That gusto is about our taste sense, and we can use that to anchor things as well. In fact, probably already there are things anchored in your subconscious or your sensory system that are to do with smell and taste, as well as the other 3 common senses that we pay a lot of attention to. So remember it through this acronym, VACOG, okay? That's not me swearing at you, VACOG, but if an NLPer shouts VACOG at you, you'll know exactly what it means: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Now, I would like you to see these 5 senses, or feel them, or hear them, or even smell them in your own mind's eye as a kind of metaphorical thing. And this really helps me a lot, is to imagine them as 5 really precious jewels that we hold there and look after and maintain. We may even cut them and polish them so that they're really, really gleaming and sharp. So think about it like that. So within each sense that we have of those 5, just say we'll pick one, visual. There will be lots of micro sensations within that sense. So we call these micro elements submodalities, because they're part of the sensory modality, visual in this context. Visual, but within visual, we've got little micro components. So imagine if visual is a sapphire and you've cut this very precious gem, and there's lots of little tiny facets glinting out with different kinds of light. So just imagine it like that there's lots of little facets to each one of those 5 senses, and it's our job to pay attention to them, move them around, and maintain them. So let's just look at one particular sense. We can do this for any sense. We look at the visual sense. Imagine that we're about to do some kind of performance. Maybe it's a driving test. Maybe you're doing a speech on stage. Maybe you have to make a video to market your business. Maybe it's something where you want to perform really well. You want to do your absolute best, either pass the test or create something really good, but your nerves or your emotional state is holding you back. So if we look in the visual sense, we will ask ourselves, what are we seeing in our mind's eye? What is the picture that we're constructing? Well, we can look at the picture, look at number one, the location of the picture in our mind's eye. Is it in front of our head? Yeah. Is it over there? Is it that way? This will be different for different people. Is it color or black and white? Look at the brightness or the texture of the picture. Is it rough or smooth? You can look at other things as well, like is it a video being played out? Or is it a static picture? You can look and see if you are associated or disassociated in the picture or the movie. And that means that you're either looking through your own eyes, being in the picture, which is associated, or you're disassociated, where you're seeing yourself in the picture or the video. You're looking at yourself performing the action, looking terrified or whatever. And the chances are, if you've constructed a representation in the visual sense, in your mind's eye, and that's your primary driver, then the chances are that picture is going to be black and white, or it's going to be red or black or something like that. And there might be sounds associated to it as well. But what we're looking for ultimately is the kind of driving sense, the driver or the kicker that comes up first when we access a state that we don't want in order to change it. So ultimately, working with just the visual sense for now, what we can do, if that picture is really close to us or it's internal, we can move it external. We can move it to the left, to the right, and put it somewhere, and work out where the best place is to put that picture, where it feels more comfortable or distant, or where we're removed from it. We can change elements of it. We can change it to a picture from a movie if things are moving too fast. We can make it smaller or bigger, and we can add in some of our favorite colors. To branch out from that, we can be a bit more creative, and we can add our favorite sounds as well. And that builds into something we call NLP anchoring. So ultimately, we are identifying what's being played out in our sensory system, noticing the location, the brightness, the color associations, all these different things, the size, and we are changing them one by one by one. And when we change those little elements, we are changing the submodalities. To have a thorough understanding of our sensory systems or representational systems and the different elements within those is so important. And this ties in with other things that we'll be doing in the next videos, like how to shift our perspective. Because once we know how to work with our unique sensory systems, this begins to change our psychology. It changes our mindset. It changes, importantly, our emotional state and our belief of what is actually possible, and it can radically change how we perform in any given circumstances once we begin to change these senses and our emotional state. So that's all from me, Jay. Remember to stay subscribed, and I'll see you on the next video, which is all about perspectives and perceptual positions. Bye.